Should we dive in? Execution? Yeah, really execution at Happy Conference? It has to do with human nature. It has to do with human tendencies. And in the next 2 hours, I think you're gonna get a very good sense of this. Every leader, okay, regardless of what you do, if you're a leader, you're responsible for results. Yeah, it always goes over here. Human beings are born with an overdeveloped sense of fair. I know this because I have children. I actually have 7 children. I know. That's why I travel. In terms of what a leader can control, we say, look, there's all kinds of stuff you can't control. In terms of what you can control, you got your plan or your strategy, and then you've got your ability to execute that strategy. People who have never been leaders before, they think that's what being a leader is. If I was in charge, here's what I do. I do this, and I do that. And then they get in charge, and they realize no one's listening. You got to change what we're doing if we want to change what we're getting. Everything else can be figured out. But driving a strategy that requires a change in human behavior is very hard, right? How do we as leaders take responsibility for this? Because ultimately, execution is about engaging people. They're not stupid, they're not defiant, they're not lazy, they're busy. You can't show me a strategy, a significant strategy, that doesn't have a behavioral change component. Someone's gonna have, Peter Drucker said, all grand strategies eventually degenerate into work. I have good news and bad news about that red circle. The good news is there are rules for doing this. There are, and they work every time. It's the hardest thing a leader has to do, and there are rules for doing it. The bad news is there are rules for doing it. We call these rules the 4 disciplines. You ready for number 1? Here we go. And you know this. You already know this one. The number 1 says focus on the wildly important. Ambitious, creative people like to do more or less. More, right? Leaders are genetically hardwired to break the first discipline of execution. The whole intent of this methodology, this approach, is to create a winnable game for people. Discipline 2 says act on the lead measure. Okay, so now that we've defined the finish line in discipline 1, now we're gonna go to discipline 2. And what we want here is what's the lead measure that's gonna draw the lag. This is critical in creating a winnable game. Discipline 3 is keep a compelling scoreboard. A compelling scoreboard, okay? So here's the rule. People play differently when they're keeping score. It doesn't say people play differently when the boss keeps score for me. I wish it did, that would be easy. You have to engage them in the game, which means it has to be a good game. Discipline 4 says create a cadence, right? That's a march, a rhythm, a cadence of accountability. And what this is, okay, is a meeting. It's a 20-minute meeting. It can be on a conference call. It can be in an office. It can do it standing up, but it shouldn't go longer than 20 minutes, and it should happen at the same time every single week. What am I gonna do to move? If the lead measure really is influenceable, I should be able to do something this week to move it. I'm telling you, that's the secret sauce. You gotta put energy against something that's predictive and something you can do something about. Don't do the 4 disciplines just to do the 4 disciplines. Do the 4 disciplines to achieve something great. Be a force of nature. Pick something. You don't have to be a force of nature on everything, but pick something and engage your teams and make a winnable game. It gives so much back, and it takes some guts, and it is well worth it. I am honored to be in your country. I am honored to meet you and to be here. Thank you so much.